Yes, siesta ocho. That must mean it's city business time, and you are darn right if that's what you're thinking. Welcome to solar-powered KRUU-FM. It is time to catch up on what's happening, the latest haps at City Hall, and we have Michael Halley joining us, and he is 4th Council Ward City Council person. Easy for me to say. You do Fairfest for 2 months and come out being able to word phrase after that, eh? Right, Jason? Jason was there. Jason Strong in the house with FMC. Michael Halley, good to see you. How you doing today?
I'm good. Glad to be here as always.
Well, glad to see you out there. Quite a little soiree over the weekend.
Yep. Before we get into the City Council, we just got to talk Fairfest for a moment.
Just a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So
what's your take?
My take was it is growing exactly as planned and becoming the event of Fairfield every summer. It really is. We're saying goodbye to all the things Italian after 10 years.
A storied tradition.
Yep. And some other outdoor events seem to be maybe past their prime. So to have this new up-and-coming, growing, expanding, free musical festival
community experience, right?
Exactly. And beyond just, it's growing beyond just even this one location and the music. It's the trails got involved.
That's right.
What else did you have?
Carnegie Museum.
Yep.
Singing Cedars with the kids had a ball 2 days in a row. They're going to go to 3 next year.
All right.
We had Green Building Supply with food testing with a bunch of the different folks in town. Everybody on the square was talked to. Vendors had a great experience. Maggie Ronan, an amazing person there. Just a lot of people on board. I know we don't have time to talk about everybody, but you're right. The buyout lateral, but then all of a sudden public radio calls and says they're asking us about our festival and Waverly. So the biggest festival of the year up there with Mumford and Sons and all that. And they had a breakdown then in the Des Moines Register. By the way, the Des Moines Register entertainment editor has called this, he thinks, the most prolific summer schedule for festivals in Iowa history.
Oh, really?
And he said he did a breakdown. Waverly, headliners, Mumford and Sons, My Morning Jacket, what's that crazy group? Flaming Lips. And then they did Fairfest, Elephant Revival, Greg Brown, who was amazing, by the way.
He was.
And by the way, he's talking about coming back. That was the dream from the beginning. But Greg Brown and, of course, Cyril Neville with a brand new record. And then they said ticket prices, $200, Fairfest, free. So it's just, it's nice to see the state embracing that. I think it's good for the community. And
it is.
It felt great. So thanks.
It did. Yeah. So I'd love to see it continue to grow, continue to receive community support. City was glad to partner, and just everything was smooth functioning. I think it's getting better year by year. Beverage Garden, we're glad to help get that license in time. And
3 nights, first time they've done one fence, it worked just fine.
Yeah.
Self-secured, as it were.
Yeah.
And I didn't see much trash left. It's been pretty tight that way from the beginning. I also love that Greg Brown mentioned this Fairfield reminds him of Iowa City 30 years ago, which means that kind of sparkle, that intellectual, cultural vibrancy. And also we had literary tracks at the Fairfield Public Library.
Yep.
So basically the table's been open to anybody who wanted to get there, and we just see more of that happening. We couldn't be more thrilled, Michael, with and a big one was we weathered probably the worst weather disruption in Fairfield in 20 or 30 years.
Well, not just weather, but then the power outage in this whole section of town. It was like you couldn't have planned for that, to say, let's move inside, everyone. And then I heard there were acoustic sets going on.
Well, it was amazing. Sam Yannis, just to wrap up, and Shook Twins, we rolled with it. We brought our headliner on early because we saw the front coming. They at least did half their set or so. And then people got inside. Actually, we were prepared to just do the rest inside because we have that great relationship with the convention center, but you need at least power to plug in instruments. So what happened was in the pavilion, Steve and Michaela played. The Shook Twins went to the Sondheim in pitch black darkness with candles and did their set. And then Sam Yannis, formerly of the Bodines, and he said, Michael, I just sat by the side of the stage and watched. the thing is, we couldn't let people know because the wireless wasn't working, that you could hardly get out, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty dangerous with what was going on out there, poles down and trees. But at any rate, he said in 30 years performing, that was one of the most special evenings he's ever had. It was, just playing in this empty room. Not empty, it was full, but it was really remarkable. So they pitched in. The thing is, the musicians, one thing I love about the Fairfest tradition is they're treated so royally. They come in, they're fed, they're given gift baskets, they're taken care of. And so I think one of our secrets, like our sound crew, everybody's just like a big family. And that's really a sweet, precious thing. Elephant Revival blew the roof off the sky with their, didn't you think?
I did. And I thought that the family feeling among the musicians was really special as well. So it's their set. And they invite the Shook Twins, and they invite Arthur Leland, and they seem to know everyone. Everyone's hugging, and the Shook Twins know their lyrics. So obviously, these bands probably see each other quite a bit at these types of events.
We kind of, that was part of the positioning for the programming committee to bring a little bit of that element. Each year we try to do something New Orleans or different. But the other part of it that we didn't mention is then you think you're done when the main stage is over. No, then there's people out into the street at the Burning Oak, Cafe Paradiso with jams, 6 bands at the Arbor, 5 bands, and that tradition we love to build as well. People know, I heard many people say, and by the way, Greg Brown then, starting off his set with his controversial and fun song, Fairfield, he just jumped in, and I saw the set list, and here is this dream, 4 years in the making of getting Greg Brown. Now next year, if we can get Iris, his wife, Dement, to be part of this too, that would be the full Monty, as it were.
That's right,
but they usually don't play the same night, so we'll see. But at any rate, Fairfield to start, and then at the end, with his daughter Pieta and her husband Bo and his kids, the Pines, all singing together. I think it was the Iowa Waltz even. I mean, that was pretty moving and deep community.
Yep, very special.
And then Keelan kind of closed out, Keelan Dimmick, playing in the Sondheim. But anyway, you can tell we're kind of excited. It was a lot of vendors. The nut person who was selling nuts.
Oh, gosh, I smelled those.
I know they're so good right near the beverage garden. It was a good positioning. But he had a funny T-shirt. I won't say what it said on his T-shirt. But at any rate, he said it was one of his best in 16 years of doing this. If the Cyril night hadn't been cut short, he would have had the best night in his career there. Even so, it was really, really good. So that's the other thing. You want everybody... You don't want this just to be a music thing. You want it to be where everybody's on board and gets something from it. So that's the goal. We're talking about it, going forward with the group. And it was good to see you there. I know it just felt remarkably good. The sound company, we didn't get any complaints from any of the stages inside the Sondheim. What we call it, the Briggs Slab stage, or the Beverage Garden. And Tammy, of course, a champion, as you well know, working with her with Ragbri. She could handle, I think, 10 Ragbris at once. She's got a lot of wherewithal.
Very well executed.
Anyway,
I like the way that the main stage act would end, and while they were getting ready, immediately over on the others, another band playing. And so there was never a gap in that way. And just more fun. And I also noticed a lot of the vendors were local. Had the wraps and the crepes and the Ethiopian, and so it was great to see them have a chance to sell more. So kudos.
Anyway, thank you, Michael.
And year 4.
Yeah, well.
Oh yeah, I got to thank that guy.
I just want to. Mr. Livewire was there too. Jason Strong with FMC and others. A lot of great photos taken with our usual suspects, Paul Delisle and Mel Sauerbeck and Werner Elmker, of course, and Paul Meyer as well, someone else who was doing a lot of great work. And somebody came 4.5 hours, so I didn't know you could drive quite that far, northeast Iowa, I can't remember the town, and he had done album covers for many of the singer-songwriter types, and I just love... the Greg Brown Hackle Barney clan said, we're coming next year and camping all 3 nights. So I'd like to see that expand the camping side. But at any rate...
Camping side, the fly-in, there's all so much.
Hey, here's my other dream. I want to get the country club with a golf tournament that has some kind of prize. There, I put it out there. Okay, back to the actual business at hand.
Sure.
Thank you for taking a minute there. City Hall... And this is for just yesterday.
Our regular city council meeting, June 22nd. Before I go over the agenda, it was pretty light. Remind people that if you do have limbs that came down in the storm, if you're listening this week on Friday, what's the date this Friday? The 26th.
26th.
Starting that morning, the city crews will be coming by to pick up. It's just a one-time post-storm
so like normal, pull them out to the...
Yep, just like you would for the spring and summer brush pickup, just put them by the curb. Did
you survey much of the... I know B Street seemed to be hit pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was the Alliant poles that they're fixing, but yeah, there were entire trees that came down in some cases. So,
well, there's a time-lapse photography because somebody had a GoPro camera on the top.
Yeah.
And boy, when that thing came in, it came in fast
strong
and
winds.
dark.
It did, and I was glad that Roland Wells warned everyone to get in now, even though it doesn't look menacing, because it did hit very quickly. All right, we had one public appearance, and it's from Jason Scott, who manages the Michael Halley house.
Yes.
Over on Court Street. He's having an issue where on Saturdays where he has these groups who use the facility, say 3 Saturdays of a month during the warmer months, not finding any parking. So he's asking if he can use some of the public parking that's...
because of Farmers Market, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Farmers Market. South of the Michael Halley house, it's public parking there between the house and the courthouse. If he could mark some of them off for his... I don't want to say users, but the people that he has that are renting it, and often seniors. Mm-hmm. So the council said, yes, but you have to go to the Public Safety Committee to work out the details of how you're going to do it in a way that is least obtrusive. But the idea, that is a popular
And you're talking about the spaces at the courthouse? Is that where?
The parking spaces on, which street is that? Hempstead?
Oh, okay.
It's a one-way street. And they're talking about just the ones on the eastern half of the block, past the alley. There's like a little pedestrian crossing. So we'll work out the details, but council did say, yes, we approve it. It's kind of backwards in a way. Usually it goes through committee and then the council for adoption. We approve it pending going to committee to work out the details.
This is just figuring out. It's a yes. It's just got to figure out how to do it.
How to do it, exactly. All right. We've had some public hearings set. We're annexing some property along 227th. That's owned by the Fairfield Economic Development Association. This is voluntary annexation, not forced annexation. So that would become part of the city after public hearing on July 13th, 7 o'clock. That's our next council meeting. And then also a voluntary annexation of some property along Libertyville Road. I believe the owners want to do some housing there. They want it to be in the city limits so they can get city water, sewer, snow clearing, waste pickup, all the things you get for being in the city. We approved the 3rd Street reconstruction paving. That's just this little portion between Iowa Avenue and, see if I can call that up, just 2 blocks there. And it's just being done following what we did was accepting the wastewater work in that area as final. So, that's interesting. No, I don't want this. Okay, there it is.
I'm seeing all kinds of images popping up on the little...
it's interesting. Well, there it is.
You can't see that on radio, can you?
No, it's my handy-dandy iPad.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. So...
By the way, you are listening to City Business. This is James Moore with City Council person Michael Halley. We bring you the City Haps after each City Council meeting the following Tuesday after the Monday at lunchtime, 12:30, then dinner time Thursday, 6:30 p.m. rebroadcast, and then the following Monday, breakfast time, 6:30 a.m., so you can hear what's going on.
Yep.
What you got there?
It'll be repaid between Harrison and Iowa.
Okay.
So a little disruption, but it's not a main thoroughfare. This was kind of funny. We had to authorize a permit for one of our own projects because the state requires that we authorize things sometimes that are within our floodplain for other projects, but it's our own city project for the wastewater phase 1. So it's kind of a little bit funny government. Okay, we permit ourselves to do this, but That's what the DOT wanted. So we officially permitted ourselves to.
On behalf of myself, I'd like to thank myself
Exactly.
for all that I do for myself.
Sometimes you just gotta go with it.
That's right.
We went from the second to third reading of the amended burn times, just taking out Wednesday. So burn time in the months of April, October, November will be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, instead of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. After the third and final reading, assuming that it goes through, no one showed up, no one has called or expressed any dissatisfaction with this thus far. So what used to be such a hot topic the flames seem to have been put out by all the rain.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Just trying to have some fun. I'm trying to follow your, the puns here, trying to make this stuff a little more lively.
Oh, that's so yesterday. I've grown.
Yeah. All right. So,
although my middle name is Rapunzel.
All right. I don't get that, but I'll look it up later. The mayor's report.
There we go.
Get this. Remember that Logan apartment sale?
Yes.
Too well. It finally went through.
Okay.
The city has been paid. The city no longer owns it. There's some little tiny thing that needs to be worked out, but it kind of goes along with Ways and Means Committee working on this financial policy for the city. And one of the goals that we'll be doing is always maintaining a positive fund balance.
Oh, I thought you were going to say positive attitude. It's so important these days. That too.
And positive, but having a positive balance in all your accounts
even better.
Is helpful. And so what that means is anyone who's run a business sometimes knows that you'll let an account go into the negative temporarily. Maybe you'll use funds from another account to cover for a little while and until everything comes out. We don't want to do that anymore. We want every account to have its own positive balance. And as part of the bond rating, they wanted to see more in the general fund, just that rainy day cash reserves. It's like we could say, well, we have borrowing capacity, but it's not the same as saying we have cash reserves. They want to see a little something, a little cushion. I think.
Well, the bond rating thing, I read it slipped a little, right?
Yeah, it went from A to B, I think.
Well, it's B something. It's still in. I noticed it's still in the recommended range, but it's at the final. If it slips one more, it's out of the recommended range.
Yeah. So
it is something. I know we've talked about it for different reasons.
Part of it was that sale of Logan, which goes into the general fund and covers some of these balances, didn't happen when we had hoped it would.
I see.
So had that happened sooner, I think that we would have maintained that rating.
Okay.
But this is one reason why it's a good time to look at this. So Ways and Means will finalize their recommendation to full council. I believe they have a meeting just prior to our next council meeting, July 13th. And then they'll bring that recommendation to the council. And this is really spearheaded by our new city administrator, Mike Harmon. And it's timely and important. And aside from the bond rating, just good practice to have a policy in place. That the thing about policy that's useful is the policy exists no matter who comes and goes. So the council can change over. I mean, you could have a complete council and mayor change over in 4 years. You could have entirely different people because that's just the nature of it.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's the rotation.
Yep. So there are some towns where that's been done intentionally, where the people are fed up. We're fed up, and we want to replace the entire. And then the new elected officials will then replace the administration, and kind of start fresh. I'm hoping that here in Fairfield, people aren't feeling that dissatisfied with what we're doing. I think elected officials here try to be receptive and open to suggestion and not doing anything that's too concerning for people. But if that were, then that's the very reason that there are term limits.
Well, it's like having infrastructure.
Yeah.
If you're building the road every time you drive on it, it's different than having a road that other people that's set up to go. And so that is what the new administrator is bringing to the table?
He's bringing this policy. So now hopefully he'll stay on for a long time. He's generally relatively young. He's got a family here. Mm-hmm. He's got his family here and his extended family. So it's not that he's trying to put something in place that he won't be here to see through, but if the policy exists, then it's something everyone can follow moving forward.
Sure.
Let's see. Also, the Public Safety Transportation Committee met we didn't really have any actions. We hear people who have concerns about things like speed limits or, well, one thing that's interesting is a citizen brought to our attention a way that businesses who serve alcohol could be held more accountable, and potentially we could help them pass these tests that they're not passing, where somebody comes in underage and they don't card.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be mandatory training for the employees who sell the alcohol. It would be free. It has been free historically.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, CETA is offering it. Before them, the police department would do it periodically. So it's not an additional cost. But at this point, businesses are not sending their employees to do this training. It's free, and CETA says no one shows up. They advertise it. They advertise it to the businesses. And so the ones who don't have this issue, who never have failed, one of these, what do they call them? I don't want to say busts. That sounds wrong, but these tests where they send someone underage.
Sting operations.
It's whatever.
Sounds worse.
Kind of what it is, but it's just they do them periodically.
They check
to see. Some are failing over and over again, and then some are never failing.
Well,
so.
I think there could be somewhere, anytime there's a mandatory something, it feels a little bit like mandatory. So maybe how about a possibility? I'm just the announcer guy, but I'm just off the top of my head. So there's 3 fails, then it's mandatory rather than mandatory before there's been an issue.
Well, the way that it works, the template that we were given
Mm-hmm.
was heavy-handed. It included an additional local fine if that we're found to, and I said that's not fair. We don't want to do that. They already have a state fine. They can get their license revoked if they fail too many times. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to penalize. But there's currently no incentive.
Right.
I mean, the only incentive is not getting caught. You know what I mean? So while it's not punitive, it could be helpful because at the state level they're the ones who approve the license.
Mm-hmm.
It basically passes through. Like if I read our consent agenda, we again on an annual basis approve these licenses. But we don't have anything on our books that says these are our standards.
Wait, by the way, I just want to interject here because we've been doing this, I don't know how many years, but that's why it always seems like there's a liquor thing.
Oh, like a new one?
But it's because everybody has to have that done annually, right?
Yep.
I knew that. It just didn't sink in. It's
We talked about that.
And there are more liquor establishments or wine and beer establishments, I think, of late.
Yeah, more restaurants who want to be able to serve it and such. And so... like I said, there are no local standards. We just say, well, if the state approved you, we approve you. So this would be some local standard. But again, it doesn't come with a penalty. It doesn't come with, we don't want to make an extra fine.
And where is that at? Is that in process of
It came to the committee. We had 4 changes we wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll come back to committee with those changes, and then we'll take it to full council at some
I
point.
see.
But
So
it would be an ordinance, which would mean 3 separate readings,
mm-hmm.
public hearing before each one.
Which there might be some lively debate on for the establishments.
Oh, yeah.
And but that's part of the process, right?
Yeah, but again, it's hard to argue with something where the thing that's being required has no cost
Mm-hmm.
and there's no fine.
Well, no cost. If it takes time, there's a cost. If it's mandatory time, but it's not like out of pocket costs. I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
so now if you were.
I mean, for me, time
you're
is
working,
money. That's all it is.
Well, that's a good question, though. If you're a waiter at an establishment that serves alcohol, do you go to the hour and a half meeting and bill your? Do you expect to be paid for that, or is it just
tips?
Something
I think just get tips there.
Is that something that would just be required? So that's an internal thing for the.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get it. And that's what I was arguing. I said, we don't want to add extra cost to the businesses who aren't failing, who always do it right. If I'm a business owner and I always follow the law.
That's the thing, It's,
we don't want this to be punitive. It's supposed to be there in a sense to encourage those who are not training their employees properly.
Right.
Which is actually I'm not going to name the city in Iowa that we're using as a template, but the gentleman who brought it said they put it in place to deal with some repeat offenders.
I see.
So, when you go and just so many things, and like the tall slides of our youth are gone because somewhere someone fell off of one and someone set a precedent, and now everyone's afraid that they probably somebody sued somebody at some point and won. So then everyone gets afraid, and then everything changes. So that's a lot. I mean, nuisance laws, for example. I was talking to somebody about this. The police are not going around and upholding every nuisance law there is, but they do it when there's a complaint. So the nuisance laws are in place so that the police have something they can enforce.
A mechanism,
but they don't enforce them unless there's a complaint, like a barking dog, that kind of thing, or somebody playing their music too loud. So this could be something kind of like that. If somebody's following it already, then
but again, you're just laying out what's gone into committee. It's going to go with some amended. We'll talk about it again once it's there, presented to the council.
Yeah, and I actually have something I can read what it says.
Excellent.
Last thing were some project updates. The rain has really been holding back certain projects. Over on Highland Street, their street has been tore up for months. It should have been paved by now, but the rain has made it so that the subbase, which is not gravel, it's dirt, just can't dry. Every time they try to get it dry, it rains again. So the poor people over there are like trudging through mud because they can't park by their house. They have to park and they have to walk back and forth. And we really feel bad for them. No one could have predicted. I mean, the basketball court at Opie Nelson can't be poured because of the rain.
I'll tell you what, the arborvitae trees are very happy.
Yeah, there are a lot of the plants are loving it.
It's a mixed bag.
That sidewalk on Jefferson Street is moving forward. So finally, the last thing I'd like to talk about is 4th of July celebration. So Scott Vaughn, our fire chief, he's in charge of the fireworks.
Sorry.
And he realized that none of the service organizations who had previously organized an actual event were doing anything. So he asked me, and I tried to get the band back together with the 175th crew, but it didn't work. So I'm going solo on this one.
Uh-oh.
But I've got some vendors lined up. I've got a DJ.
Cool.
The beach will be open. I'm trying to get some people to...
So it's going to be there?
Yeah.
Going pyro?
Yeah, well...
Because the fireworks are already there, right?
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
The fireworks, because we have all the fireworks from last year, is going to be the biggest fireworks show the city of Fairfield has ever put on. So that's that. All right. Fireworks are going to be awesome. I'm just trying to get some food vendors. I got a few so far. Anybody else who's interested, contact City Hall. There's just a little vendor license, or not license, but a little...
The thing is, you have to get approval from City Hall. So, wait, you're going right to the cutting the middleman out there.
Exactly. Go to City Hall, get it done.
But seriously, vendors, and you're talking about at the Waterworks Park.
Waterworks Park.
And it's starting when?
4th of July, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
On the 4th, it's a Saturday. It's gonna be beautiful weather, I predict. And laugh all you want. It's going to be.
Hey, we're the guys that just went through like trees going sideways.
Exactly.
Anyway, speaking of that, it must be time to get out of here. Good to see you, Michael. Good to see you, Jason. And this has been City Haps from KRUU-FM, solar powered. And you know what? Power outage is out. KRUU is on. And that's where I'm leaving it right here. We got to get out of here. Thanks. We'll be back in 2 weeks, I would predict.
Yep.
But don't forget, 4th of July coming up. Waterworks. Fire and water, it's a good thing.